Coming to you from the heart of downtown Greenville, it's the show about thriving in a local economy. You're listening to Fire at Will with your host, Will Stewart.
It's episode 5 of the Fire at Will podcast. Thanks for joining us. So excited to have everyone here. My guest is a very special one. He's a good friend, someone who I admire, who's done some great stuff in shipping a physical product. And so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how to be a dad and an entrepreneur and balance all that, which is something with a 3-year-old and one on the way, still trying to figure all that out. But my guest, Ryan Hamilton, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
So for the 6 people that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit the Ryan Hamilton story.
Sure. So my name is Ryan Hamilton. I was born and raised here in Greenville, South Carolina, and left here after high school in '93 and went far away.
Yeah.
As far away as I could.
Yeah.
And went to college out west, moved around quite a bit, and then met my wife in Boston. We lived all over. And 5-6 years ago, we decided, you know what, it's cold up north, and we're tired of the north. And so we moved to Greenville, moved back home, and brought my Yankee wife back to South Carolina with me.
Nice.
So I'm in the toy business. Been in the toy business for 15 years now. So on all different sides of the business, but currently I'm the head of operations and product development for Plus Plus USA, which is a South Carolina-based company with offices also in Ohio and in Denmark. So we are a toy-making company, construction toys primarily.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, and for people that are wanting to know what Plus Plus is, it looks like the thing on your shirt.
It looks like this.
Like
Yes.
an H, kind of.
It is the toy so nice we named it twice. So it looks like 2 pluses mashed together. It is often likened to Lego, which we're happy to. People say, "Can I say the L word?"
Yeah.
Yes, you can say the L word. Lego, we love Lego. It's very different though because Plus Plus is all one shape, and with one shape you can make anything. You can build flat mosaics in 2D. You can build more complex creations in 3D. It's a slightly different material than Lego. It's a little softer. We do have 2 sizes. So we have a larger size called Plus Plus Big for younger kids and a smaller size called Plus Plus for older kids or kidults, as we like to say. Plenty of folks like to have them on their desks as well and play with them there. So, it's an incredibly creative toy. By having the constraint of one shape, it really forces you to think in some different ways.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing kids play with us because way back in the day, I did a video for you.
Yep.
That was maybe 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And like you just brought a bunch of kids into a room and dumped Plus Plus on a table.
Right.
And I'm filming them play unscripted.
Yeah.
No prompts at all.
No.
And they were coming up with some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's neat to watch. I mean, kids are instinctively creative, and Plus Plus looks like a puzzle piece to them.
Yeah.
So they know how to start mashing it together, and then as they learn and build some more 3-dimensional things, they really get pretty excited about what they can make. And there's something about the feel of it. It's a very different sort of a tactile experience than a Lego or other construction toys because it's a little softer.
Yeah.
And it's a very satisfying feeling putting it together. We actually have a lot of teachers of autistic and ADHD and ADD kids who say that it really focuses the kids like nothing else that they have because of that tactile experience. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife is a teacher, and we have a 3-year-old, and so she's like pouring everything she can into it, which is great.
Right.
I mean, it's wonderful seeing our daughter just blossom. But my wife's all about Montessori and open play, and like all that sort of thing. Give them a ball. Don't give them like something that's like has only one use. Give them something that can be used multiple ways. So
that's right.
So Ryan brought some Plus Plus for me for my daughter Ella. So or maybe it's for me. I'm not sure.
I won't tell her if it stays in your office.
Ella, this didn't happen. If you see this video one day, it didn't. But yeah, so I'm super excited about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Why the toy business? How did you get into that world? What was attractive to you about that?
So my entry into the toy business was kind of born of 2 things at once. There was a necessity side and a passion or interest side. So The short story, if I can shorten it up enough, is that my wife and I were living in Slovakia in Eastern Europe teaching English.
Wow.
And we were planning to be there for a couple years, really enjoyed it. That was in the year 2002. But we got pregnant with our first child there and ended up needing to come back to have our first child, Isabel, here in the States. And this was, being 2002, it still felt pretty post-communist, cinder block housing projects kind of thing in Slovakia. So medical care was a little tough for your first child anyway.
Yeah.
So we came back to have our first child and needed benefits right away to pay for the birth. So I ended up going to work for my father-in-law doing basically Microsoft Excel jockeying. He had a toy sales rep firm based in Detroit, where Kmart was at the time, and they needed someone to analyze inventory and sales data from Kmart and some other retailers.
Yeah, sure.
And I was pretty good at Excel, pretty good with computers, so they hired me on very kindly to give me some benefits short term to have the baby. The other side of it was that we saw so many great toys in Europe that we didn't see here, my wife and I. And so when we came back, my wife had grown up in an entrepreneurial family. She and her siblings had started a store when she was, 10 or 11 years old.
Wow.
It still exists today. It's 25 years old now. So she's always wanted to get back into retail, and we thought, well, a toy store would be really fun to run. Let's bring some of these toys that we saw in Europe that we don't see here and open a toy store.
Wow.
So we opened the toy store the week after my first child was born in 2003.
Oh, my goodness.
So
that is ambitious.
So I started off kind of on the sales side as a sales rep or rep support, and then also as a toy store owner. So,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And so that's toy store you'd been running for a while, and then did you decide to go into Plus Plus? I mean, do you still guys still run that now, or is that?
So we don't. There's a very, very long story involved
Sure.
that involves all kinds of West Coast, East Coast intrigue, involves Bernie Madoff a little bit.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a story for another day.
Okay.
But,
all right. Yeah. Maybe the movie. Ryan Hamilton, the movie.
Yes. The short version is that we sold the toy store to a startup company in 2008 who was looking for an e-commerce presence. We had a pretty sizable e-commerce presence at that time.
Nice.
Oddly enough, in 2005, we got a call from Amazon. They, at the time, had just dissolved their partnership with Toys R Us, and they had a contract where they were the exclusive kind of online arm for Toys R Us.
Yeah.
Toys R Us felt like Amazon had breached that contract by selling other toys that were not Toys R Us toys. So then Amazon went to look for marketplace sellers. That was the early days of their marketplace program.
Yeah, right.
So they called small toy stores like us and said, hey, would you sell on our platform? So we started selling toys on Amazon in 2005, which was quite early.
Very early.
And then that really boosted our online business. So we built that to a point where this other company wanted to purchase that. So we sold that off. But during that time, to answer your question and not digress, sorry, we started seeing a lot of toys in Europe. We go to shows at least once a year and see toys there and things that we didn't see here, as I said before. And so we started thinking, well, we could import and distribute these to other toy stores. So, so that was the genesis of the whole thing. It started with a line called Diglingos, which was it still is a stuffed animal toy from France. This crazy corduroy stuffed animals.
Wow.
So that was our first product line. Started with 6 characters back in 2007 was our first wholesale trade show.
Yeah.
And then added many other product lines over the years, and then added Plus 6 years ago.
So is Plus Plus the main toy now, or do you still distribute others as well, or?
No. What happened is over the years we added other product lines. We also had 2 of our own product lines that we launched on Kickstarter and manufactured here in the U.S. Sold to toy stores, gift stores, museum stores, all kinds of places. But after we launched Plus Plus in 2012, within a couple of years, we realized this is different. This has more potential.
Yeah.
This has bigger market potential. And we were struggling. I mean, it's hard. My business partner and I, he's in Ohio. Both have families trying to earn a paycheck or not a lot of times.
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah. The struggle is real. And it was a cash flow roller coaster. We would order goods, get goods in from Europe, sell them, and then go back to the well, buy another container of goods, and it was hard. And around the time I moved here, we were looking for outside investors, for more financing to try to scale ourselves up. But what we ended up doing turned out even better, which was focusing 100% on Plus Plus. And we jettisoned all the other brands and said to the Danish manufacturer, now our business partner, hey, if we go all in on this and form a new entity that's co-owned by the U.S. and Denmark, we can create our own products just for the U.S. market with our own packaging, the right price points. And so in January of 2016, we launched Plus Plus USA, which is really, that focus has proved to be a huge winner for us. And that's when we launched these tubes.
Yeah.
And the tube packaging has been a real disruptor for us and has opened a lot of doors that we wouldn't have been able to open otherwise. So
lots of questions. I have lots of questions for you. Was it scary to go from multiple SKUs, multiple lines of, to just straight to Plus Plus, or were you like, no, Plus Plus is the winner? This is an easy thing for me.
It was scary. I mean, we certainly believed in it very strongly. From the first time I brought it back from Germany, there's the biggest toy fair in the world is in Nuremberg, Germany, every January, and we go there every year to look for new product, or we did. And when I brought Plus Plus home from Germany and gave it to my kids, I have 4 kids at the time. They were from, I guess, 1 up to maybe 10. And it was clear that it was different, and it was the engagement level of engagement they had with it was totally different. And I'd always loved construction toys. I had a lot of weird ones as a child, like Fisher Technique and Construx and Lego, of course. So I'd always wanted some new construction toy, but there's a lot of bad ones out there too.
Really is.
So it was scary, and I had a lot of peers in the industry, in the toy industry, say, "Are you crazy? Like, Lego is going to clean your clock. I mean, what you're going all in on a construction toy?" So it was a little scary, but it was also very hard to manage multiple brands in the U.S. and try to market for each of those brands and maintain social media for each of those brands and kind of keep them under one umbrella. That was tricky. So it was a relief in a way too to just have one thing to focus on.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for specializing. Just finding your niche and just going all in on that.
Yeah, niche till it hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Because and I preach this a lot, but it's just like you can't do everything.
No.
And if you need like multiple social media accounts for every line.
Right.
It's just there's only so many hours in the day, and you have to duplicate yourself to be able to do it in a way that you're going to be satisfied with the quality of the result.
That's right. Yeah, one of my favorite podcasts when I first got into listening to podcasts was an Entrepreneur on Fire with John Lee Dumas, and
love him.
He always talks about figure out who your avatar is. Who's that one person? What do they buy? Where do they shop? What do they drive? What do they listen to?
Yeah.
Who is that one person that you're targeting? And I think we can do that much more specifically with Plus Plus than we can with a bunch of different products. Now, we still have a lot of different markets to serve, so it still is a bit of a challenge to. We're trying to cover education. We're trying to cover executive gifts or dads and grads gifting or preschools. Yeah. So there's still plenty of room to kind of segment, but it's great to have one thing to focus on and one shape to focus on.
So rewinding just a little bit, going to when Amazon called, that took vision to just say yes to Amazon and actually see it as something that you'd want to be in. I can see a lot of people who had a brick and mortar store going, no, this is how I've earned my paycheck for so long.
Right.
Internet's not going to be there, or internet's not going to grow in that way.
Right.
What made you see the value in partnering with Amazon?
Yeah. Well, I wish I could say I had great vision, but it really was that I needed to buy groceries for my kids. My wife and I opened a toy store in a summer resort town that closed down at Christmas. So, kids, if you're going to open a toy store, don't do it in a place that's not open at Christmas.
Wow.
It was great in the summertime, but in the winter was quiet, and so we really saw it as a way to kind of even out our sales curve. And we had also started building our own website on OS Commerce. It was an old open source commerce platform that I was teaching myself, and so we were shipping orders from our basement. My wife Sarah would package every package with tissue paper that coordinated with our logo and put a handwritten note in there. And so it was really this kind of boutique experience that we wanted to bring from our bricks and mortar store to the people at large. So it just dovetailed well with what we needed practically, and just kind of grew from there. So,
okay, all right. So there wasn't any magic,
No.
any lightning.
No, Jeff Bezos didn't talk to me in a dream or anything. So.
I hear he does that every now and then.
I'm sure he does via Alexa.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So Plus Plus is really cool. How do you decide, for people that are business owners, maybe they're looking to launch a product and they have, this product that they're wanting to get out. How do you decide, okay, this line is going to work versus because this is themed Halloween, this is themed, turkey. So I'm sure you got a bunch of these type, just different kind of
got a lot.
Yeah. So how do you decide what works and what doesn't work? Is it just kind of throw something onto a wall and see what sticks?
It's trend watching, and we are ridiculously fortunate in that we don't have any molds to make. We don't have different packaging to make, really. We can chase trends by simply the right color combinations and the right set of instructions. So I can't give away things we're launching in January yet, but they're all done now. But as an example of this past year, we launched a unicorn in January, unicorn tube, kind of on a whim because it was trending. And that's our number 3 selling item this year.
Wow.
This summer, we cranked out a llama tube and a sloth tube because those 2 animals are really popular. So we can chase trends, and it's watching the marketplace, it's going to trade shows and seeing what's on trend, certainly watching social media. For us, we also go after niches. So one real advantage we have is that, especially with the demise of Toys R Us now, there's a lot of different types of retail that want to sell toys because they see there's a multi-billion-dollar hole in the market.
Yeah, right.
And so we are now selling in Ace Hardware and in Tractor Supply Company and in all kinds of crazy places that you wouldn't expect to find toys, but there's parents there, there's grandparents there, there's kids there, and we've designed lines of tubes that fit with each of these. So we have 4 farm animal tubes, we have aquatic tubes that sell to aquariums, we have safari animal tubes for zoos. So my business partner, Brett Faber, who's the head of all of our sales, he really feeds back to the product development team and says, hey, we can sell to this niche if we have a product to sell to them. Yeah. So it really is a nice synergy between the sales side and the product development side to kind of as a feedback loop to see opportunities.
And that's great that you don't have to manufacture new dyes or like that. You can actually just change colors.
Yeah, it's almost like, more like printing or, T-shirts or some other kind of business where you can chase trends pretty quickly. So we have a real advantage in that. And we're able to be pretty agile. I mean, retailers in our climate now, they're becoming much more cautious. I mean, just this week, we're wrestling with a 400-store grocery chain that wants to carry our products in all of their stores for this Christmas, and they want us to ship in 2 weeks, and they haven't given us a purchase order yet. But these guys they're really cautious these days. They keep even Nordstrom. We're shipping out tons of orders to Nordstrom this week, and they just gave us POs. I mean, it's really they're being extra cautious in this climate.
Yeah, sure.
And so if you can be agile and react, then you have a real advantage.
Yeah, and probably reduce their pain a little bit, or they know they can just get it to you and it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
So whenever you say like Ace Hardware Store, right? Do you go to Ace Hardware Store, the marketing team or the purchasing people, whoever the people are that make those decisions, and say, if we had a cow and a donkey and would you be interested in this? So in other words, are they the ones that are informing that decision, or is it more like whenever you're going to a toy expo or something, you're talking to those guys?
So it's a little bit of both. And then the third way would be that we rely on independent sales reps. So we have almost 100 independent reps around the country that are organized into groups, regional groups. And we rely on them to be the kind of boots on the ground and be in the stores and have those relationships with stores. I mean, the U.S. it's a huge territory.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things we like to show our European partners is if you superimpose the state of Texas onto Europe. I mean, it literally stretches from, Scandinavia down to southern France. I mean, it's, our country is ridiculously massive and a lot of opportunity, but you've got to know how to reach it. It's hard to reach it. So we it's a little bit of both. So we do, we'll show things like this show we just had last week in Dallas. It's called the Fall Toy Preview. So we're showing products that are not real yet, but they're for 2019, Christmas of 2019. Yeah. And we can show them without them being real and get feedback and see if people are interested. So it's partly seeing what retailers are trending and who has dollars to spend, and then also relying on our reps and our sales team to hear those comments.
So I'm sure shelf space matters as well, because I've never sold a product, but I've watched plenty of Shark Tank, so I've heard
so you're almost important.
There. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like me and Mr. Wonderful. We're like
yes.
So I know that's important. So these things are like just like skinny tubes. You said like whenever you had tubes that they kind of took off, that was like a big deal.
Yeah.
What did you package them in before, and why were the tubes so such a big deal?
Yeah, that's a great question. So prior to the launch of Plus Plus USA, we had I think maybe 12 total packaging styles, and they were all boxed. And some were cubes, these very efficient Danish cubes with no air. Those were very difficult to sell because they don't look like much on shelf. They sell very well online because the price point's good and they're easy to ship. But the other products we had were all in boxes. And from the beginning, we loved the colors of Plus Plus. There's 22, soon to be 25 colors next year of Plus Plus, and they look great. The color selection is amazing that they've done. And we wanted to show it off. And so it really was born out of in December of 2015, as we're about to launch this new company, we realized we don't have anything really great and new and a new story to tell for our trade shows in January and February. Yeah. What can we do? So we thought, well, let's try some tubes. Let's just put some mixes of colors in these clear tubes. And there's a few other companies that have done it that are good friends of ours, like Tenzi, which is a dice game you may have seen. There's 40 dice in a clear tube, and it's a great game. It's awesome. Our whole family loves it, and you basically roll 10 dice until you get 10 of the same number. It's brilliant. The dice are great colors. So I literally called my buddy Steve from Tenzi. I said, "Hey, Steve, where do you get these tubes?" And he said, "Here's my guy. Yeah. We're making in China now, but you can buy from this guy domestically." And so we started right here in Greenville, just a mile or so from here, started packing tubes in February of 2016, and now we've shipped over 1.5 million tubes.
Wow!
In 2.5 years. So
what makes people gravitate to these versus a box?
So I would say one, like I say, is the colors, that it really shows off what is in there. Another is that they're really portable and reusable, and moms really love that. They keep it in their purse, in the diaper bag. People love it as a restaurant toy. I'm sure we've all seen the plagues of screen zombies at restaurants. I mean, you see a family of 4 out, quote, having some family time, and they're all staring at their screens. And
even the parents.
Oh, the parents are the worst ones, including myself and my wife. It's really hard to break it. And but pull a tube of Plus Plus out, put it on the table. I mean, everyone's engaged. Pull the crayons out with the kitty coloring sheet, and Dad's going to kind of go, "Oh, no thanks." But I mean, Plus Plus is really engaging for a lot of ages. So it's partly the portability. But for us at retail, the big advantage is we're not competing for that rectangular box space that Lego owns. I mean, they own that space in every major retailer. We have multiple displays or CDUs, counter display units, that we can offer retailers. There's some that hold 48 tubes. There's one I just visited this morning at M. Judson, our local bookstore. They have a nice tall rack that holds hundreds of tubes in it, as well as box sets. We have a number of different options for them to place tubes, and it's really important to give them the right merchandising option for their stores. So we have some racks that spin, some racks that are stationary, and every store is a bit different in how they want it to look.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So the tubes. Oh man, there's a good question I was about to ask. Well, we'll just go to the next one.
That's all right.
Yeah. So someone who is is wanting to create a product. You know, like maybe they got this killer idea, and they've been talking to their partner about it. You know, and they're like ready to make it happen. I'm sure you've seen some of the pitfalls that can happen with shipping a product and all the ways that there's pitfalls everywhere. I have a friend that has like a dietary supplement that he sells, and like that's been a nightmare for him. He's doing very well for himself now, but that happens. What are some of the things that people just early on, little things that they can do to avoid some major catastrophe down the road?
Yeah. So prototype. There's no such thing as a prototype that is too rough. When I'm prototyping a new package, I literally open up the drawer of my laser printer, and I pull out some pieces of paper, and I start folding and cutting and taping. There's no such thing as a prototype that is too rough. And anything you can do, especially with a physical product, anything you can do to replicate the physical space of it, the presence of it is going to be huge. I learned a lot about this from the guys at IDEO, which is a design firm out in California. Right. These two brothers that are, and they're also connected to the design school at Stanford, I think. But and they kind of pioneered this whole design thinking, and they designed those original OXO grips things for the kitchen. They're the big chunky peelers and all that. Again, just watching how people work and rough prototyping. Also, if you're going to sell a product in store, mock up your package and take it to a store. I'll sometimes take a box and go into a local toy store, introduce myself, and say, hey, I'm just going to walk around and put this box next to some other boxes. Don't think I'm, stealing anything or being weird. But just seeing how you stack up to your competitors. Is it too tall? Is it too wide? Is it too short? Is it too skinny to stand on the shelf? Just simple things like that are really helpful.
And are they okay with that?
Yeah. I mean, of course, if you just go into a giant store, no one's going to know you're there.
Right.
But, most stores are fine with it. And then also, I would say focus group. And the big mistake, though, is that a lot of people focus group with their close friends and family.
Right.
Your mother's not going to tell you your baby's ugly. So you've got to.
You're going to tell you you're brilliant, you're the best son ever, or whatever.
Yeah. Would you buy this? Oh, yes, son. I would definitely buy that. Well, thanks, Mom. You need friends of friends of friends to focus group with, and offer them a free lunch, offer them whatever, but get them to give you real feedback. Blind feedback. I mean, you can hire companies to do this, and it's expensive, but you can do that. But I think there's cheaper ways to do it. But there's so much you can learn from rapid prototyping, good focus groups. That includes names. I've seen some really failure names out there, that a name can kill a product quickly. Or induce a lawsuit quickly.
Yeah, right.
As we've had some friends that have experienced that, I think. So, those are just a few things that I'd recommend. I mean, the biggest thing I recommend to people is just keep it simple. I mean, the most successful concept is a simple one, because you're going to have fewer sizes, fewer iterations, fewer packaging design changes. And I learned this from some good friends of mine that started Elf on the Shelf. They're two sisters from Atlanta. And we met at one of our first trade shows in 2007. We were booth neighbors. And super nice. They had just been turned down by all the publishers in the country and decided, okay, we're going to go sell this book on our own. And the one sister, Krista, had been a hostess on QVC. And she said, the people that I saw on QVC that had the most success were the ones that had a focused concept and one product or a very limited range of products. So they said, we're going to have an elf with a book. That's going to be our one SKU. And everyone said, you're crazy. And now, I don't know how many millions of units later, and the Macy's Thanksgiving parade balloon and everything. Wow. I mean, they've really made it. And they made it through focus and that simplicity from the start. So,
I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, they have a solution that's in search of a problem. They're not really fixing anything, but they think like this would be great, and maybe they're thinking about the bottom line of I can make it for 5 cents and sell it for $1 million or whatever,
Right.
And
a lot of problems that you think you're solving are perceived.
Right.
And you may experience it as a problem, but you've got to make sure other people do as well. So.
And if you and 10 other people experience it, it's not enough people.
Right. That's right. Yeah. It's you need a broader Selection, again, back to the focus group. You've got to make sure that people think your solution is relevant or the problem is actually one that needs to be solved.
Yeah. And I think just getting out of the room, wherever you're doing your doodling or working and just talking to people.
That's right. Yeah.
It seems like a lot of entrepreneurs are sometimes, well, not a lot, but I've seen some they're just too shy or too just introverted to actually ask questions. That tip about putting it out on the store is great. It's a great tip.
Yeah, it's really helpful. And also trade shows. Trade shows for young or for new companies can be a complete money drain. I mean, it's, for one show done well, it can cost us upwards of $50,000. And we need to be there, but you should always walk a show before you commit to exhibiting there. Talk to the exhibitors that are there. Find out if it's worthwhile to be there. The trade show companies are interested in getting your money.
Right.
They don't much care about how many orders you write once you're at the show.
Yeah.
So they'll say what they need to say to get you there. And there are many wonderful shows out there for all kinds of specialties, whatever your market. But I would always recommend spend the money on a plane ticket, even if you fly in for one day and one night. Go in, walk the show, talk to the other exhibitors, find out if it's a ghost town or if there are actually buyers there. Yeah. Again, try the inexpensive things first.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah, it's as I've been growing my business, we don't do trade shows. We don't do a lot of the actual physical products, but there are ways where if I would have spent maybe $500, I could have saved myself thousands upon thousands of dollars in mistakes.
That's right.
And I don't want to spend that plane ticket and that hotel and food because I'm like, man, I'm trying to save money. I'm going to do this right. But then your head, you can't unless you have physical validation and actually do your research. A lot of times your head doesn't tell you exactly what you need to know.
That's right. Yeah. And on the connected to that is also it's really hard as a small business that's scaling to do things really well. An example for us is our finance and accounting. We started out. I mean, for years I did the books and just because I had to, and that's what I did, and I didn't mind it. But as it got more complex, we brought on a freelance accountant, and that worked for a little while. But then we quickly realized this is outscaling our ability to use a part-time accountant. So now we use a great firm here in town that handles Ubi and a bunch of other huge companies.
Nice.
But we know they can scale with us, and they care about us. We're small, but they care about us, and they know where we can go.
Sure.
And so being willing to spend a little more on the people that really know how to do it, whether that's a packaging supplier, whether it's an accounting firm, a logistics company, if you try to scrimp on some of those things, you're gonna pay for it in the long run.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's just knowing how to spend that money. Like what's important. It's almost experience, right?
It
teaches you those lessons that are expensive and valuable.
Unfortunately, you learn the lessons through losing a lot of money, and I've certainly done that. So
yeah, every year I say I have my $10,000 mistake, and those hurt. That's just they're painful.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about trade shows. What makes a good trade show display and just having a good, probably for you it's going to be different than maybe some others, but there's probably some universal truths to it.
Yeah.
Walk us through that.
Yeah. So the first thing is location. So really studying the map of the trade show. And seeing, are you going to be near the food court? Are you going to be near the entrance? Are you going to be near the restrooms, which isn't always a bad thing because folks are always walking by you. So there's some definite dead zones, and again, it can be a real advantage to go to a show beforehand to find out where you want to be on the floor. One example is the Javits Center in New York, which is massive and has tons of trade shows every year. If you do Toy Fair or any winter shows there, and you're in the back of the hall, they leave the doors open the entire time you're setting up. So you're literally setting up in hats and gloves, and your product can get blown over. And so if you don't know, though, you don't know. And so you may just show up and start to set up, and it's a disaster. Yeah. So location matters. We always try to have some fun giveaway and not just some, mouse pad with your name on it, but something interesting that we can give to people that they want to click on their name badge or they want to wear on their backpack or something that will spread the word on our behalf around the hall. And then just having something very hands-on that's inviting. We do big bins of Plus Plus that people just want to dig their hands into, and we have kind of a private meeting area in the back. Even when we had a small booth, when we had our smallest booth, a 10 by 10 booth, we had a fridge in the corner with a coffee maker on top, water, beer, wine. We learned this from our European partners. You go to a European trade show, and it's like, it's hospitality bar none. It's amazing. They're just so welcoming. And so we try to do that at shows, that when a buyer walks in, we ask, can we get you a cup of coffee? Can we get you a water? And they're kind of shocked, like, wait, this is not a big booth. How do you, we have it back here.
Wow.
So that's always a fun thing for us. One thing that seems kind of strange, but if you can get really cushy floor covering, like thick carpet or a thick carpet pad and carpet, when buyers walk into your booth, they want to stay there, because the trade show floor is hard and it's tiring to walk all day. Yeah. And when they set foot in your booth, they go, "Oh, this feels great."
That's good.
It's those little things, but those are a few things that we find helpful.
That's awesome. That's great tips. Really, really good. So you're a dad, and how do you balance running a business? I used to think it was the thing that was keeping me from my family was the fact that I was starting a business. But I think being an entrepreneur, it never ends, right? No. Just things scale, really. There's probably 1,000 fires that are burning brightly somewhere else, and you're even ignoring those to be here, and I appreciate that. But, same thing when you're home. So how do you find that balance between running a viable, healthy business and then also keeping a family life healthy and maintaining all that?
Yeah, I wish I could say that I've done it well. I mean, it's, the old adage that when you run your own business, you can work whatever 80 hours a week you want. You get to choose. Set your own schedule, which is very true. But, I haven't done a great job of it. My family has definitely suffered over the years, and there's years when I've brought home almost no money, and it's been rough on the family. And so I think for me, using the flexibility that you can to spend time with them. So we do one trade show a year together. We all go and do a road trip to the show.
Oh, fun.
And the family comes, and they work in the booth and help me, and they troll the floor and get lots of free toys, which they love. So involving them in the business, they really enjoy. For me, trying to really block off time. So for years I've been using Inbox Pause, which is now I think part of Gmail maybe, but it basically allows you to pause your inbox and only have email come in at set times of day.
Oh, wow.
And so, sometimes a year I turn it off because I feel a sense of urgency, which is a mistake. But generally, I check email at 8 a.m., 12:30, and 5. And I batch it, and it only comes in then. Now I can answer emails outside of that, but nothing else comes in. So if I keep that on, then I know that from the time I leave the office to the time I get back to the office, no email is coming in. And so I can get home, put my phone in the drawer, shut the drawer, and I'm done at least until the kids go to bed. I can, pretend there's no fires burning at work.
Sure.
So that helps. But, it's a constant struggle. Just last night, I was laying in bed, my wife and I, and it's been a stressful week, and I've got now 7 employees at our facility here in Greenville, and each with their own personalities and struggles and assets, and trying to manage people well and have high expectations, but also equip them to learn and to grow. And so I was apologizing to my wife last night as we're lying in bed, saying, "I'm sorry for talking about this, for being stressed about it." She said, "No, we share in this. This is life together, and it's not just business growth; it's personal growth, and it's learning how can I be a better leader, a better person? How do I bring my faith to bear on my business, and in a helpful way, not an imposing way to my employees?" So all those things are wrapped up in it. Yeah. So, and I think for my kids, it's good for them to see that there is a struggle, and it has been real, and they know the value of a dollar for sure now, because there's been very, very lean years, and God willing, there'll be some not so lean years, but we're learning it together. Yeah. So, and I think they now that they're old enough, so they're 15, 13, 10, and 7. And the older ones especially feel a part of the business, and they help design things, and they help test things, and they have a pride in it. So it's fun.
That's good. Yeah, I think being 100% on and 100% off helps.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's the one thing that I struggle is just having the like when I'm at home, not putting away my phone. I was figuring out something yesterday evening and coming out just like I felt like someone running out of a burning building. I still have like embers on me and like smoke and
right.
I'm just trying to like fix things and I'm downtown with my wife and daughter and I'm looking at my phone one last time. My wife's like, just give us 15 minutes. She said, and she said it very sweetly and kindly. I was like, yeah, you're right. So I just like tuck it in.
Yeah. I think one of the harder things for me too, I'm glad I don't have to travel a lot. I travel at kind of concentrated times of the year, 3-4 weeks a year, but it's always hard to re-enter family life. You go from only worrying about me, only thinking about business for 3, 4, 5, 6 days. And then you come back into the fray that my wife's been dealing with for the entire week, and just that mental reset, it can be tricky, but hopefully I'm getting better at that too. So, but it's an ongoing struggle, and it's seasonal, and it's depending on what's happening in the office and at home, but I'm so grateful, and I try to emphasize this to my employees, like your family's first, and if you've got a sick child, if you've got, we'll work it out. Do not come in here and think that this is more important. If you need to work from home, if you need to come in late, if you need to whatever it is, we'll make it work. So trying to emphasize that, yes, we're going to work hard, but when we need to not be working, we're going to go, tend to the things that are more important.
Yeah, so. That's good that you have that culture.
Yeah.
Because, it's easy to I always thought that if I wasn't here, working, that everything's just going to fall apart. And if I tell my clients, you try not to tell your clients no, but there's sometimes you have to go like, I cannot do that. Like I physically just can't do that. And usually, it's very, very rare when any of them ever said, like yelled at me because of it.
Right.
Because it's just, they get it, sometimes you can't.
And at least once a year, should be more, but at least once a year I take a week. And the out of office reply on my email is, I am taking a break from technology to be with my family this week. I'll answer your email next week. And people appreciate it. They get that auto response and they go, oh, okay, that's great. Good for you. Now it helps working with European partners who take like 5 weeks of vacation a year.
Yes.
So they definitely understand.
Yeah.
But it's hard, especially in our American always on culture.
Yeah.
And it's hard also with my employees. I don't want to cultivate that. I've got my employees are amazing people, hard workers. Sometimes I want to say, no, don't. Just because I sent you that email at night doesn't mean you need to respond at night. Right. Respond tomorrow.
Right.
So sometimes I'll schedule emails with this same app, Inbox Pause. You can schedule with Boomerang. You can schedule them to be sent later.
Yeah.
So I'll write a bunch of emails at night, but have them deliver in the morning, so they don't feel like I'm expecting responses tonight. So,
that's smart. Yeah, that's good. I've been trying to do that with my crew, just because you don't want to have that expectation that they have to do that, and they need to have a life for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good, man. Well, I definitely appreciate your time.
Yeah.
One last couple questions, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Something that resource that's kind of educational for you as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. Maybe if it's a blog or a podcast. I know you talked about JD's podcast, or I don't know, some magazine or book. It could be anything. And then also, where can people find you online? How can they reach you?
Yeah. Wow. I'm a real book and podcast junkie, so it's hard to narrow down. I would say some of my favorites currently would be Don Miller, StoryBrand podcast is incredible. Just last week, there was an episode that really helped me with my staff in terms of how to communicate, how to truly listen without just kind of the dorky old active listening. So what I hear you saying is, so I really appreciate Don and his podcast. other podcasts. I mean, recently the How I Built That podcast has been really inspirational for me, just hearing some of these stories. I think book-wise, recently Essentialism, Greg McKeown, I think. Great book, again, just about focusing. One that I always come back to over and over, which is totally cheeseball, but 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I mean, I'm going
through it again now.
The longer I live, the more relevant it is.
Yeah.
And just so many principles. Just a couple weeks ago, talking to my warehouse manager about urgent versus important, that, the busy time is coming and we have to do important things now before they're urgent. So that book just continues to feed back into me. So yeah, listening to that over and over. So my bookshelf is riddled with, kind of cheesy entrepreneurial books, but they really help.
Yeah.
And also, relationships like ours and Eric Arbe, who was on your podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, just it's so great having friends in the trenches.
Yeah.
I'm part of a business mastermind group here in Greenville. There's 6 or 7 of us that meet once a month, and we are all business owners from all very different backgrounds.
Wow.
So just comparing notes, sharing stories, sharing struggles, that's a huge help. I think for years I was much too isolated, kind of the lone wolf entrepreneur, which is really my personality. My tendency is to be an introvert. So you got to put yourself out there, go have lunch with somebody, go have coffee with somebody, and you'll learn a lot. You'll make great connections. So I'm not a natural networker. I have to work at that.
Yeah, I'm not either. That's interesting. You're the first guest that's actually mentioned a physical meeting of people, that being something of inspiration. But it's very important for me because I'm an introvert.
Yeah,
I don't do well like at these like business meeting,
right.
Like here at Endeavor, there's collaborators and cocktails. They bring in these people. I will slip in and listen to the speaker. It's great. It's fantastic. Like the whole event's great. I mean, I'm not knocking on it at all. But for me, I have a hard time just like walking up to people like, hey, I'm well, and it's just hard.
Yeah.
What works for me is I go to I try not to eat lunch alone.
Yeah.
So I'll invite either clients or I'll invite, friends that are in the business, and just, just even having the informal conversations with them.
For sure.
Just certainly helps.
And that was a great thing about CoWork, where we met years ago here in Greenville, now Atlas Local. But being forced to work around a bunch of people, some of whom are introverts and some of whom are not, was great just for building networks and helping inspire you.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
In terms of finding us, so we're hopefully in most places you'll look for us. Our own website is plus-plus.us, and we sell everything there. You can also find local retailers. We're in about 4,000 stores around the country, so you can find hopefully a store near you. We also are on social media. ++USA is our handle most places.
Okay.
And then for myself, I'm here and there on social media too, Ryan L. Hamilton. So.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to sit down. Really means a lot.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, you're doing something great. So we'll put all the books and links and everything in the show notes. So as you're listening to this, make sure you check that out. And be sure to grab some ++ for your little ones or for yourself. I won't tell if you won't tell that I'm playing with this. So
that's right.
Thanks, Ryan. Really appreciate you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.